party people. Welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the RPG podcast built for two. As always, I am your host, Jeff Stormer. This week I'm joined by Aaron Goldbeck of the Spire podcast for a game of Tim C. Kopang's Mars Colony. Political sci-fi at its finest. In fact, the game is fueled by very real political anxieties chosen by Aaron and I before the show. Mars Colony is the story of an off-world utopia in collapse, and the one person chosen to save it, whether they're qualified for the job or not. Spoiler alert, in this case, very much not. I really enjoyed playing the game, and I really enjoyed the spin Aaron gave to Kelly Perkins, the game's appointed savior. It put a very unique twist on the game structure. Interested in coming onto the show as a guest? Shoot me an email at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to have you on the show. And with all that out of the way, I'm going to throw it over to me in the past so he can get started with the show. Take it past me.
Oh, thanks, future me. This week, I am sitting down with Aaron Goldbeck. Aaron, how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, I am. Well, let me talk to you about Spire first and foremost. Let's tackle that first, and then we'll jump into the game after that.
Absolutely.
So tell me about Spire. Tell me and the listeners at home about Spire, the podcast.
So, my podcast is called Spire. You can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, just by searching for Spire Podcast, and our Twitter handle is Spire_podcast. And what we do on Spire, what I do on Spire, it's a long-form, improvised storytelling podcast. Dear God, what does that mean? It is just me telling a story. It's in a long-form improv format, and it's in a steampunk fantasy world, and it's more or less about two down-and-out adventurers and the trouble that they get into in this mile-tall city called the Spire. You should definitely check it out.
Super, super cool. Really, yeah, super cool. Definitely check that out. And so with that out of the way, let's jump into the game.
All right.
This week we're playing Mars Colony. And before we started recording, you and I both wrote down 3 political fears. These are things inspired by the actual political landscape, things that scare or anger us. And the first thing that we're going to do as we set up is I'm going to flip 2 of these cards. These are things. The cards that are flipped are things that are in the atmosphere. They're not necessarily things that are directly happening, but they kind of inform what's happening in the game itself. Make sense?
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
Cool. The first one. Lobbying as political bribery.
Okay.
So there's special interests are sort of buying their way, buying votes out from under, and making sure that they get their way first and foremost. The second card, I've shuffled them up. The second card is environmental issues, specifically corporate abuse thereof. And that's kind of neat. Those 2 are kind of tied into each other, which will be good.
It's a scary Mars we're going to.
It is. It's the terrifying corporate world of the Red Planet.
All right.
So now that we've sort of done that, the next thing we'll do is we will collaboratively choose 2 to 4 political parties from modern times. These will form the basis of the political parties on Mars.
Okay.
And sort of what they're after, what their big interests are.
Got it.
So, how many did you want to do? Anywhere from 2 to 4.
I'm pretty flexible on that. If there's a number that you think is going to be easier for you to run, I'm up for whatever.
There's 3 level. Each one will have a different level, either fringe, minority, or dominant. So let's just do 3.
Okay.
And that'll work.
All right. That sounds good. Now, one of the keys to my character concept, actually,
sure,
which I'll get into whenever you're ready, is the Chinese Communist Party.
Okay.
So I do want to have them in there as either the minority or the dominant group.
Okay. We'll put those, we'll say, well, why don't you just, which one would you rather they be?
I see them as the minority.
Okay.
I think they're powerful, but they're not the most powerful.
That's the minority. For the majority, I'm thinking tying in to the fear cards. I'm thinking something vaguely like kind of modern Republican, but even more so.
Oh yeah.
Almost, I'm gonna write down Republican, but I kind of feel like the most extreme Republican you can think of, where it's just like.
This is Donald Trump in space.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, make Mars great again.
Oh my God! Yes, the Make Mars Great Again party. That's terrifying.
There it is. Yeah, so that's going to be the dominant party, I think, going into this. And What do you think for a fringe party? Somebody with maybe some groundswell support, but a lack of proper.
Yeah, it could be like the Mars Green Party, which would
All right,
be
yeah,
like
that's
the
good.
Mars Red Party.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Write those down. That's going to be the fringe. Yeah, that's good. That's a good assortment. So now I'm going to choose a character from each of the 4 major organizations to represent one of these 3 parties. And I'm going to briefly go over the 4 major organizations that make up Mars Colony as a whole. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to sort of summarize the intro just to sort of provide the premise of what Mars Colony is. So Mars Colony was a playground in space. It was sort of supposed to be like an extraplanetary resort. The governments of Earth formed a coalition. They sent the best and the brightest onto the planet to sort of first terraform it, and then establish sort of the ideal resort world. However, things fell apart very quickly, and that is sort of when your character, Kelly Perkins, is sent in to fix the very big infrastructural problems that are currently plaguing this resort world.
Yes.
So, there are 4 major factions within Mars Colony. The first and foremost is the mayor's office, which is fronted by Mayor Anna Yang, who I am going to say, tying into the idea of that, Mayor Yang is going to be a Republican.
Uh-oh.
Sort of tying into the idea of them being the dominant party. I think that makes sense. Then the mayor's office is backed by the colony council, which is the legislative branch, which is responsible for local laws and nuances.
Uh-huh.
The senior most colony council person is Councilor Stewart.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to make Councilor Stewart a communist.
Okay.
Then there's the news network. That's obviously the news network.
Yes.
And the network chief, I'm gonna say head anchor Jace Williams. Sort of the face of the face of the news network, the person that talks to the people. I'm gonna make them a Green Party member.
Sounds good.
To sort of reflect them having the support of the common people. And then finally, there is the Earth Coalition. A member of Earth Nation sponsored the construction of Mars Colony. They all claim an interest in how things are run. Mm-hmm. And for that, I'm going to say the president of the president of Earth? No, president of America. I'm going to ask you, what political party of the 3 that we've talked about do you think the president of America is?
I mean, I'm terrified to say this, but I do think it's it would be the Republican Party.
All right.
Yeah. Make Earth and Mars great again.
Yep. There it is. There's the horror. There's the horror story right there. All right.
I live in DC, so this is very real for me.
Yeah, this is real life. This is real terror. So when Kelly arrives on Mars, let me ask you real quick. Kelly, preferred pronouns for Kelly Perkins.
Male pronouns.
Male pronouns. Yeah. So when Kelly arrives on Mars, he is beloved by the entire planet.
Great.
He is the person of all the billions of people on Earth, of all the millions of people within the Earth Coalition. He is the one person that has been chosen to represent this. As such, he has 9 points of admiration to represent the colony's undying support. Now you're going to choose a fictional party for Kelly Perkins to be a member of.
One of the 3 that we've established so far?
No, this is going to be a different political. This is just going to be a different political party to sort of tie into the idea that Kelly Perkins might be swayed by the 3 parties, but not necessarily.
I see. Okay. I guess he's that's a good question. Well, I sort of envisioned him as having ties to the Chinese communists, but I'm pretty adaptable. So the thing with the character concept that I have for Kelly Perkins, he's a pretty mercenary guy. He's not really here because he's the most qualified for the job. He's here because he is, he was willing to say yes to enhance his own status.
Sure.
So as a opportunist, I think he'd be open to whatever party would advance his personal brand.
Honestly, I kind of mercenary as if we're going to make an affiliation. I kind of like that
All right.
as an affiliation itself. I think that's good. That's a good character concept.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think we'll write down mercenary.
Kelly Perkins is the president of the Kelly Perkins Party, which is here to advance the Kelly Perkins platform.
That's a fine party to be a member of, if you are Kelly Perkins.
Yes.
So, in addition to thinking about Kelly Perkins, the next thing we're going to think about is a sympathy for Kelly Perkins. This is another character located on Mars with whom Kelly has a strong connection. You can either choose this character, or we can roll 2d6 to come up with the NPC background.
Okay, so here's my thought, and tell me what you
Sure.
think about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things that I love about this particular role-playing game is it's sort of based around the idea of your character being in over their head. So
Sure,
I was
yeah.
thinking about what would an interesting character concept be, somebody who would say yes to this kind of thing, but not be in any way equipped to actually do it. So my thought here is that Kelly Perkins is a self-help guru. Like, he was a C-list celebrity on Earth. He did like seminars, and he's written like 24 books, and they're all bullshit. But
Sure.
the leader of the Chinese Communist Party read his book and loved it. And was like, you've got to go to Mars and you've got to fix Mars. And Kelly Perkins was too on brand to say no. He was like, of course, I am the right person for the job, even though he's totally not. So that was sort of my hook for the
fucking
character.
love that.
Okay,
I'm just going to put that out there.
Oh, good. All right, that's great, because I've written a bunch of titles of books that he's written that I have
Good.
to reference. Yes.
We're going to use those in play.
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, so he's basically a bullshit artist.
So I'm going to write down for sympathy that Kelly Perkins has a politically powerful friend. We'll say friend, yeah.
Okay.
Or friend or follower. We'll say follower, I think is
Follower.
a good way to put
Sounds good.
it. So that's going to be their sympathy. A high-ranking member of the Chinese Communist Party that has just bought in 100% to the Kelly Perkins way of life.
Fantastic,
I
yes.
think that's great. So, now that we've set up a sympathy, there's a list of, if you're looking at the rulebook, it's on page 18. Otherwise, I can read out the list. We're going to choose 3 health markers.
Okay.
These are the immediate threats to Mars Colony itself. Those threats are, in order, atmosphere, dust, gravity, radiation, quote-unquote others, energy, water, materials, funding, population, disease, nutrition, sanitation, healthcare, education, crime, terrorism, social unrest, communication, corruption, labor, and transportation.
Wow.
So when Kelly arrives on Mars Colony, 3 of these things are immediately falling apart.
Okay.
So what do we think the 3 things should be? Tying into what we've got on our fear cards, I think water is interesting. I think if there's something wrong with the water,
Agreed.
I think that's interesting, and also it reminds me of the first Fallout, and that's just an added bonus. I like... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say corruption.
Corruption's good.
Or
Corruption's very good.
terrorism. Either one of those.
Porque no los dos.
Okay.
Corruption and terrorism. I think those are 3 good things we can sort of touch on.
Got it. Great.
And I think those are sort of, they're vague, but they're broad enough, they're specific enough that I think if they come up in play, we'll have a pretty clear idea of how they're going to work out.
Absolutely.
So, and now that's all the setup. So now we're going to dive in, and play begins by you as the savior. As the savior, Kelly Perkins, you are going to narrate a short scene. Well, actually, I kind of feel like you've already done that, narrating a short scene of Kelly Perkins' background and how they've sort of arrived, or how he's arrived on Mars Colony.
Gotcha. Yeah, I could, happy to do a scene, happy to charge straight ahead if you feel like we're ready to go.
I feel like we've got a pretty good idea. I feel like now we've established that his background and his sympathy. I think we're ready to blaze right past that, if that's all right.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So now I am going to set up the first scene, either a personal scene, which is a scene involving Kelly Perkins' personal journey, the people around him, or an opposition scene, which is a problem on planet that Kelly Perkins has to deal with.
Okay.
So, we'll begin with Kelly Perkins in the office of Chief of Security Rand Lloyds.
Okay.
He is an older fellow. He's got black hair with those big white streaks on the side, the full Reed Richards look. He's wearing a beautifully tailored suit.
Okay.
Describe to me a little bit of what Kelly Perkins looks like. Give me an idea.
Kelly Perkins looks like a really successful used car salesman.
Okay.
He's like slick and polished and kind of slimy.
Yeah, that's perfect. So, Kelly Perkins is in the office of Chief of Security Rand Lloyds. Rand is currently, you walk in to his office and he is reading a dossier.
Okay. Have I met Rand Lloyds before, or is this our first meeting?
I believe this was your first meeting.
Okay.
You've been called in as part of your sort of early on in sort of the celebratory, hey, the Savior's here. You received an important invite from Rand Lloyds to meet in essentially the war room. So if you just picture the war room from Dr. Strangelove, that's
Absolutely.
where you're at right now.
No fighting in the war room.
Exactly.
All right.
You walk in. He is by himself at that huge table reading a manila folder dossier.
Okay.
Perkins, come on in.
Hey, Randy. Good to see you. Can I call you Randy? Is that okay?
No, do not call me that.
Okay. Mr. Lloyds?
That's much better.
Okay. Mr. Lloyds. Very
Listen.
happy to meet you.
I wish we could continue the celebration. I know that we're all happy to have you here. We're very excited for you to tackle the issues that hit, but unfortunately, I don't know if you've turned on News. I don't know if you've turned on News Corp in the last few days, but there's been turmoil in the lower sectors of Mars Colony.
I see. Okay. Yes.
There have been several bombings, and we need to find a way to identify the terrorists and ensure that they do not attack anyone. The last thing that the colony needs is people getting hurt.
Of course. Well, right, terrorists. Okay, that reminds me of my third book. Are you familiar with my third book?
No, you'll have to remind me.
You must go to your garden is the title. It's a 12-step self-actualization program. I'll send you a copy. I think you'll find it interesting. So one of the important steps to self-actualization is to identify problems and to work through them, in a step-by-step basis. So step 1, who are the terrorists?
Well, they've stated that they are members of the People First Front.
I see.
Some of our corporate partners in the colony, they have issue with them providing us with services and equipment. They worry that may lead to corruption. They choose to express this by bombing out production plants.
And that is an unproductive outlet for those feelings. So if you can set me up in a video conference with them, I am sure that I can realign their goals to be more conducive with the overall health of the Martian colony. Normally for these video seminars, I like to do, 6 hour-long sessions over a couple of weeks. I'll waive the fees, of course, since I'm here to help address these problems. But so just put me in touch with the terrorists, and I'll be happy to talk to them.
If we knew who the terrorists were, this wouldn't be an issue because they merely would no longer be alive.
Now,
so what I need from you,
I'm sorry, you just told me we knew that they were the people first,
the people first movement. We know what the organization is. We do not know where. We have no way of contacting the leaders. So what we need from you is a way to contact and establish contact with the leaders, and then from there you can do whatever it is you want to do.
Now, Randy, okay, I am a people person, but I'm also a very busy man, and there are many demands on my time right now. So, if you're telling me that your security team has no idea who these people's leaders are, that doesn't give me a lot to work with. I need you to do your job so I can do my job, Randy.
Oh, I mean, if you want information on possible terror suspects, we can give you information on possible terror suspects. And with that, I think we're going to segue into a progress scene.
Okay.
This is where Kelly Perkins is going to attempt to talk to suspected terrorists, give them his self-help program.
Okay.
And hopefully it works out for the best.
Okay,
so
that sounds good.
The way this works is sort of where it becomes a game of chance.
Okay.
I have two six-sided dice. I don't know if you have two six-sided dice on your end.
I do.
Okay. So the way it's going to work is I'm going to go over everything, and then you can start rolling, and hopefully this doesn't end in disgrace.
Okay, I'm open to that. That's fine.
The way it works is we're going to start working on the terrorism health problem.
Okay.
Health marker. The way it works is you're going to roll both dice and add up the results. Unless you roll a 1. If you roll a 1 on either dice, let me know, and then otherwise you'll begin work on building.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, come on. I got a 4 and a 4.
Okay. So you have gained 8 points of health in the terrorism health marker.
Fantastic.
So you've talked to some people, you've gotten some leads, some people have sort of bought into your message. You are the savior after all.
I am.
So you're making progress in sort of identifying who the terrorists are.
Fantastic.
Now, you have a choice to make. You can roll again and attempt to garner additional health points.
Okay.
Or quit and keep your current total.
Oh, I'm feeling lucky.
Your end goal is to get to at least 20 points in each of these categories within 9 scenes. Or 9 progress scenes.
All right, you know what? Kelly Perkins, he's feeling good. He's already making progress, and he's applying, of course, The Formula, which is the title of his best-selling self-help book about the formula to improve your life.
That's a good one. That's a good book.
It's been on top of the New York Times bestseller list for months. So, okay, he's rolling again. We're rolling again right now. Come on. Oh, yes, I got a 6 and a 6.
Okay, so you are now at 20 points.
Oh, my God.
You have theoretically made progress towards solving terrorism on planet. The people you have, the various people have pointed you in the direction of various members of the People First movement.
Okay.
And they are buying in, they are seeing you as an ally who can influence change on a high level.
Absolutely.
Now, do you want to keep going and try for 40 points, at which point the issue will be considered solved? Or do you want to stop for now?
Maybe we should stop right now while I'm ahead.
Okay. Yeah.
But
an important thing to note is if you roll a 1 at any point, something happens, like you lose all points. You either have to decide to lie to the people.
Okay.
And keep your points, but potentially face scandal later.
Okay.
Or face people turning on you, at which point you just lose your points.
Well, I'm feeling good on this right now for halfway to solving the problem.
Yeah.
I also really don't want to do anything dangerous at all, ever.
That's fair.
So.
Okay, well, then that is the end of that progress scene. So now I'm going to throw it over to you. You can choose to set up one of 2 scenes. You can set up a personal scene, which focuses on Kelly Perkins' private life and personal struggles. This does not necessarily implicate colony politics. Or you can set up a progress scene which implements a plan to stabilize one of the threats of the colony.
Well, should we do a progress scene and roleplay some of the discussion between Kelly Perkins and the leader of the terrorists?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, let's do that.
The leader of the People First Front.
Uh-huh.
Or movement, as it just keeps going back and forth. Let's give them a name. I think they're going to go by the name The Shepherd.
The Shepherd. All right.
They're choosing to go by a pseudonym.
Okay.
So you are put on a closed-circuit camera call with The Shepherd.
Okay. Well, I just want to begin, Shepherd, by just saying how happy I am to have this opportunity to be talking with you, because I think the important thing is we all want the same thing here, which is a happy, healthy Martian colony. So how can I help you, help me, help you to get what you want?
We too, at the PFF, are very happy to hear that the Savior, the chosen son of Earth...
Yes, that's me.
...has come to aid our cause, and we are very eager to hear what you can offer us. You have the ear of President Yang.
It's true. It's true.
You have the air of President Fletcher. We trust that Kelly Perkins, the savior of Earth, may be able to move things away from the corrupt playground of corporate interests that has overtaken Mars Colony into something more shall we say, people first.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more, except for a couple small things. So, as I'm sure you agree, what we want is a Mars colony that is for everyone. So I'm working on your very legitimate grievances, but I've got to take into account a broad section of different needs and wants. So what I need you to do, Shep, can I call you Shep? Is that okay? What I need you to do is to limit your violent outbursts. They're not constructive. And, what's more important to me is that they're blocking your own path to self-achievement and self-actualization. So can you do that for me, Shep? Just no more bombings, at least for right now, while we work through this together?
We can discuss taking a more peaceful tact when we are certain that the corporations of Mars have our interests in mind and will pay us heed.
Of course.
As is, we need a great commitment from you to understand that you will serve as a liaison between the People First Front and the government.
Shep, that is what I am here to do. I'm here to bring all the stakeholders to the table, and either through application of my patented formula for personal self-achievement or through some other dialogue, we're all going to come to a solution that works for everybody. I just do want to remind you, though, that, you say that people are first. Corporations are people, too. So there will need to be a little bit of give and take.
There will be no give or take.
Okay, I'm going to circle back on that with you later at our next conference. Our time's almost up here. Is there anything else before I take off?
No. We look forward to hearing the progress that you make in advancing our cause.
Of course. I will talk to you very soon.
Great. I think we have a pretty clear idea to go into our next progress scene, again, focused on terrorism.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like if you're
Oh, yeah.
whether or not you're being legitimate in your words of talking to stakeholders and being a sort of relaying both of their objectives to each other, I think we have a pretty good idea. If you want to, so go ahead and roll those dice.
Okay. All right, I got a 2 and a 5.
Okay, so you've got 7 points of health added to the terrorism cause. So things are looking good. You are not necessarily blackmailing people with the threat of terrorism. But certainly you're using your leverage. You're leveraging the knowledge of what they're capable of to, basically you've got, some of the business interests of Mars Colony over a barrel.
Okay, I love it.
And they're not happy with you, but you've got their ear at this point. If you want to roll again, or if you want to call it at 27.
Let's roll one more time. Feeling
All
good.
right.
I got a 4 and a 6.
All right.
Dice are loving me today.
The dice are loving you. You have almost defeated the cause of terrorism. You have strong-armed in some reforms that are making their way through the colony council.
All right.
It's seeming like maybe, just maybe, some of these corporate interests that are lobbying there to get their way and turn Mars Colony into a playground might run into some roadblocks.
Okay. Feeling good.
So with that, I am going to set up another opposition scene.
Okay.
This one is a news report from News Network, so we're going to throw it over to lead anchor for the 14 o'clock news, Jace Williams.
All right.
Controversy on Colony. Appointed savior Kelly Perkins has been said to be cavorting with terrorist higher-ups. We have received word from contacts within, I don't know, give me a corporation name. Hanco Air Filters. We have been receiving contacts within Hanco Air Filters that Kelly Perkins has resorted to blackmail and threats of terror to get his way. Is this really the savior that we want on Mars Colony? More to you after this break. Also, summer fashions.
Oh.
So now there are some pretty heavy allegations being levied against you.
Which
seem to be...
Cut to Kelly Perkins. He turns off his TV and he's like, I will crush that Jace Williams if he gets in my way.
Yeah. Alright, so I have set up... that's the opposition scene.
Okay.
Now you can set up a personal scene or a progress scene, knowing that the corporations of Mars Colony are fighting back against you to at least try to slander your reputation.
So what Kelly Perkins would do first thing is just try and get on Jace Williams' show and just jump out in front of it.
All right.
Just try through sheer charisma to nip this problem in the bud.
All right. Well, then let's call that a progress scene between you and Jace Williams.
Okay.
So we cut back the next day. The next day they have a special segment. Jace Williams sits down with Kelly Perkins. And they're in one of those terrible, tacky, news interview sets where it's like a living room, but it's not really a living room.
Yeah.
There's a statue of a head, and you're like, who has a bust? Yeah.
Well, Kelly Perkins has a bust, but it's a bust of Kelly Perkins, so.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't have a bust of Kelly Perkins? He is the savior.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Jace Williams is a young black man. He's exquisitely put together. He looks like a news anchor, but he looks like a young news anchor who's trying to impress his higher-ups. So he's a little bit more polished and he looks a little bit more like Kelly Perkins than a respected journalist. Let's put it that way.
Okay. All right. I size him up.
You're sitting on the opposite side of him in this, you're both in faux comfy chairs. Kelly Perkins, thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Chase. I really appreciate this opportunity to set the record straight.
Yes, and, then let's get right into it. I don't want to waste your time. You're the savior. You've got a lot on your plate.
It's true.
There's been some heavy allegations thrown against you from our friends and sponsors at Henco Air Filters. If you'll give me one moment. Henco Air Filters. Breathe easy.
Or don't breathe at all. It's Mars.
It's been heavy allegations.
Yes. Well, and these allegations, I just want to say, are totally baseless. I am here to put this colony back on the right track, and that involves asking some difficult questions, entering into a dialogue with people who we may not agree with initially. But, I have the leader of the terrorists on a 12-step self-energy cleanse program right now. It's one of my patented courses. If the people at home are interested in learning more, please check out my website, kellyperkins.com. We do have a pay-per-view video series there. And
please don't plug your products on my broadcast.
I'm sorry, Jace. But I think it's important for people to know.
1 second. Henco Soda Pop. Feel the fizz. Continue.
Yes. Well, as I was saying, what we're doing is a form of, self, energy cleansing, and we are, going to be synergizing with him, and we're trying to break this colony out of the downward spiral and get it into what I like to call the upward spiral. So, I hope that helps put some of your concerns at rest.
Oh, I certainly hope so, but don't you feel that working with terrorists when we should just be getting information out of them by any means necessary, don't you feel that taking that approach makes us seem weak?
Now, Jace, you've fallen into one of the major traps I have identified in less successful people, which is zero-sum thinking. You need to cultivate an abundance mindset. There are ample opportunities on this brave new planet for all of us, and that's what I'm working on. Bring everyone to the table and self-actualizing everybody, all the stakeholders.
Big talk from the savior, Kelly Perkins. We'll throw it over back to you in the studio. All right. So that was a fantastic progress scene.
Great. After the cameras go off, I turn to him and I just stare at him. And I'm just trying to tell him with my eyes that if he ever slanders me on his program again, I will crush him. I'm not saying that. I'm just looking at him with this look of disgust.
Even fidget. He is just giving you the exact same look back of, if you step to me, I will step to you. This will be war.
Okay, a worthy opponent, perhaps.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and roll some dice and see how that interview plays with the public.
Yeah, hopefully they're going to be buying my 12-step program. I got a 1 and a 4. Oh, shit.
Okay, this is exciting. So, you have a decision to make.
Okay.
There's a controversy here where Jace Williams playing to fears of national security has really riled up the, what do you call it, the hoi polloi.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The unwashed masses. Yep. Uh-huh.
You can, either way, you get no health points for this.
Uh-oh.
You can either, however, you can choose to take a contempt, which moves you one step closer to being ousted in shame.
Uh-huh.
Or you can take a deception, in which you get to dictate a scene in which you come up with a convenient lie to get the people back on your side.
Ah, okay.
But you run the risk of a scandal later.
Okay.
So
All right.
everything could come tumbling down.
Oh, well, Kelly Perkins, live by deception, die by deception. We're definitely going to be trying to deceive. And unless you have an idea, I think that he might just try... I think Kelly Perkins would probably just try to directly undermine the credibility of Jace Williams.
No, I think that's perfect. If a convenient series of anonymous articles about Jace Williams' ties to various other radical groups were to come out, essentially making Jace Williams seem like a radical himself, I think that's perfect. That's very Kelly Perkins.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm just going to drop hints about his ties to the Environmentalist Party.
Yeah.
And let the rumor mill churn.
So, now it is, I believe, my turn to set another scene.
All right.
We're going to set a scene involving... we're going to set a scene, I'm going to set a progress scene, so we'll get right back to the dice rolling.
All right.
This one takes place in Kelly Perkins' apartment a couple days later, as Kelly Perkins has been running this information campaign, the smear campaign on Jace Williams. He gets a communique from President Arnold Fletcher.
Okay.
About reports of water contamination within the greater colony sector.
Yeah.
The reports indicate that the water contamination, outside pollutants, and trace amounts of radiation from the power plant have not only spread to the lower sector, which, let's be honest, if they wanted cleaner water, they can always buy more clean water.
That's their fault for being poor. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But this one, now it's started to get to the higher sectors. So, Kelly Perkins, you need to make this a priority because, these are our campaign backers and 3116 is an election year.
Well, this is why I only drink Perrier water anyway.
That's a good choice. This podcast is brought to you by Perrier, so that's good.
Okay. All right. So, how do we make a progress scene on this happen?
I have a thought.
Okay.
Tying into Kelly Perkins as the ultimate shill pitch man. If Kelly Perkins wanted to essentially endorse an outside water company.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think that might be ideal for Kelly Perkins. So why don't you give me just the, short 30-second Kelly Perkins water ad. Whether it's Kelly Perkins brand water or not. And then we'll roll some dice.
Okay. Hello, people of Mars. You might know me as Kelly Perkins the Savior, but I am a regular man just like you. That's why I drink asteroid water. Asteroid water comes from the pure black voids of outer space, has not been contaminated by any of the shameful radiation spills that plague the surface of this red planet of ours. And if you want to be like me, the Savior, you will also drink asteroid water. Remember, it comes only from asteroids, not the tainted surface of this dying world. Thank you.
Oh my god, asteroid water. Be like Kelly Perkins, that's... God damn it. Yeah, okay. There you go. So now we're going to roll some dice and try to solve the water problem.
All right. Oh god, I got 2 ones. Oh no.
Oh no, that's extra bad.
The dice went from liking me a lot to hating me.
Yeah, especially because of the previous deceptions that you've already made.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so we're gonna set a scene. Hello? This is your news at 1400. I'm Jace Williams. Asteroid water? More like poison water. We're gonna throw it over to beat reporter Sydney Fain with a special report. It's going to cause quite a splash in the water industry.
Damn that Jace Williams, that was good.
We cut to Sydney, who looks kind of like, just picture the guy from Network.
Uh-huh.
That's Sydney Fain.
Uh-oh.
So he's just the beat up old beat reporter in the, dirty trench coat. I'm here at the asteroid water bottling plant. And you may see some androids carrying water barrels. You may see employees on the line. You may even see an occasional appearance by Asteroid Water spokesperson and savior, Kelly Perkins. But you know what you don't see here? Safety inspectors. That's right, there's not been a single safety inspection in the 2 weeks that Asteroid Water has been on the market. And in those times, there have been reports that people have found not just radiation in the water, not just dirt in the water, but rats.
Oh, God.
Real live Earth rats.
Which is sort of miraculous if you think about it, but...
It really is, but... Do we really want to be drinking rat water? I think not. Back to you, Jace. Rat water. Shocking stuff. Shocking stuff from a figure that we should trust. In Kelly Perkins.
Kelly Perkins...
After this, back to school fashions. Continue.
Kelly Perkins angrily turns off his TV in his apartment. It's like, that damn liberal media bias every time. Ugh, how am I going to deal with this?
Yeah, so what happened because you rolled 2 1s, you not only suffered a contempt token for that, but because you had a deception token already, a scandal erupts, and the lies that you've told essentially fall apart.
No!
So you now have 2 contempt tokens. That means if you get to 5, you are ousted in shame.
Okay.
So what happens is, in the weeks that follow, Jace Williams essentially goes on a campaign to discredit you and is vaunted as a, Walter Cronkite-like authority figure. He is now the Upton Sinclair of Martian water safety.
Damn it.
Entirely focused on making your life a living hell. So now I'm going to ask if you want to set up a personal scene or a progress scene to set up to combat one of the 3 issues plaguing Mars Colony.
All right. Well, I feel like I got to get this water problem under control.
Okay.
Because it's ruining my reputation right now.
It really is.
And my reputation is it's all I have.
It's really all you've got.
All right. So I'm going to work on that.
Okay.
So should I roll? Or should we set up a scene?
You don't have to set up a scene per se. Just tell me what Kelly Perkins is doing, and then we can roll. What's Kelly Perkins' action plan to sort of write this very possibly made up water scare?
That's a great question. I feel like the Kelly Perkins approach would be to publicly restructure the water company through
that's good.
Patented 10-step corporate restructuring seminars.
Yeah, that's exactly what Kelly Perkins does, yeah.
Yeah, and in the interest of transparency, he's making these totally open to the public.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so go ahead and roll your 2 dice.
Okay.
See what happens, and if you make some progress towards...
I got a 3 and a 4.
Cool. So you've got 7 health points going towards water.
All right.
Do you want to roll again, or are you good?
I definitely want to roll again.
Okay.
And I got a 1 and a 4. It's not going well.
So once again, I can ask you if you want to just go ahead and take the contempt of the people, or if you want to go for deception. In this case, because your previous roll generated health points, if you make a deception, if you deceive the population, you keep those health points for now. If a scandal happens, you lose those they become lie points.
Ooh.
Which work the same as health points, but if a scandal happens like the one that just erupted with the water quality, then you lose those points.
I think when in doubt, deceive. So we're gonna deception again.
So that was 5 progress scenes. So if we make 4 more, then your career your term as savior is met with, ends on a positive note. So you're getting there.
Okay. All right.
So it is now my turn to set up a scene. I am going to set up an opposition scene to put you in the room with Deputy Mayor Leanne Yao.
Okay, great.
She is a middle-aged woman, salt and pepper hair, thick glasses, nice-ish suit, more of the idea of a nice suit.
Okay, I understand.
She calls you in for a meeting. Thank you so much for coming, Mr. Perkins. We value what you've done so far, even amid the controversies.
Well, it's unfortunate, but with every step forward, sometimes there's resistance, there's pushback. Important to begin with the end in mind, as I say in my third book, which of course is The Formula, my New York Times bestseller.
Of course, I've read it. I'm a fan.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I'm a fan of you. And what we're going to do is we are going to make Mars great again. So, how can I help you?
Well, it's funny you mentioned pushback because, and I do apologize for the clandestine meeting. I know that you're a very public-facing person, but I've begun to fear that Mayor Yang may be blocking bills that do not suit his agenda.
I see.
I've begun to feel that he is so thoroughly in the pocket of corporations that he has undercut several health bills in the public interest. And while I would never ask you to smear someone in public, and I certainly don't want you to see this as a political play, even though if he is ousted, I would take his position.
Yes.
I merely ask that you look over his records and consider if backing him in the election would be in the best interest of the people at large, or if perhaps speaking out against some of his policies may benefit the people of Mars Colony.
I understand. Well, I appreciate your faith in me. And yes, I will carefully review the positions of this mayor and make my decision accordingly, if you understand what I'm saying.
I do. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Oh, and by the way, I noticed that your apartment was needed fumigation. If you need to stay in the grand luxury suite for a few weeks, that would be my accountants can arrange for that.
Well,
we would not want the savior living in anything other than comfort.
I think that I think you make a great point. I think it's very important for the people of this colony to engage with my brand, which is of success and abundance, because that is the dream for all of Mars, and the dream I want them to dream. So I will humbly accept your offer, and I will move into that luxury suite.
Great.
Leadership is a burden, but sacrifices are a part of the process.
Taking bribes, I love it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so go ahead and roll me some, I'm going to say, roll me some dice towards corruption as you dig up dirt on Mayor Yang.
All right. I got a 5 and a 5.
Oh yeah, you've made good progress. You've definitely found some good dirt that you can speak out against. Do you want to roll again, or do you want to call it at 10?
Wow, this mayor's dirtier than that asteroid water I was plugging. Let's roll one more time. I'm feeling lucky.
All right,
and I got a 2 and a 5.
Okay, so you got 17 points. 20 means you're making progress. 40 means you've solved the issue.
Ooh, so close.
You want to keep going, or?
Yeah, I'm going to go one more.
Okay.
All right, and I got a 6 and a 2, so that's 8 altogether.
Yeah, you're awesome. You got 25.
All right, making progress. Okay, I'm going to quit before something terrible happens.
That's good, yeah, because you're going to lose, that's a lot of lie points to put on a scandal. So there's some real heat under, Mayor Yang at this point. The people have really turned on them. Now I'm going to ask you to set up either a progress scene towards any of the 3 major goals currently plaguing the colony, or a personal scene to sort of reflect Kelly Perkins' current lifestyle.
I do sort of, I think a personal scene. I guess we haven't done one yet, have we?
We did we did sort of one in the very beginning, just as we kind of established why Kelly Perkins came, but otherwise, no, we haven't done one yet.
Okay, I think a personal scene with Kelly Perkins in his luxury suite, sort of like looking out over the colony from some, like, balcony, perhaps?
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Yeah. Do you think there's going to be anyone there for him to talk to, or should he just sort of be like a soliloquy kind of thing?
I think either one's fine. If you think there should be a person there, I'm going to put it in your hands.
Well, I don't have any other characters in mind. Well, we said that I have this friend who is the high-ranking Chinese government official.
Counselor Hadar.
Okay, well, if you want to be Hadar...
Sure. Kelly, you've done good work. I'm sorry that so many people are trying to slander you.
Well, Councilman Hadar, it's the same back on Earth. Lesser minds just want to tear down great people like you and me.
It's true. That is true. This champagne is fabulous, by the way.
Oh, isn't it exquisite? Yes.
I'm really very excited that they managed to bring it up from Earth. This is wonderful.
Yes. Well, we can expect more days like this ahead as soon as we do something about this Jace Williams character who's been dogging my heels, and of course the mayor, once those situations work themselves out.
The enemies are amassing at the gate, aren't they?
They are.
Decisive action, I believe, is what is called for in situations like these.
I completely agree. In fact, that is stage 7 of the formula, which I know you're a big fan of that book.
I am. I know that.
So we're going to soon be moving to stage 8 now. Do you remember stage 8?
Well, stage 8, apologize for all of your wrongs? Or nope, that's a different program.
Well, that's a different program, but close. Perceptual maintenance. So what we need to do...
Perceptual maintenance.
Yes, very important step in the formula. So what we need to do is to craft the expectations of the people around us. Excellent.
I believe you're the perfect person to do that. You do have the ear of the people.
I also agree. I am the perfect person to do that. And the people see that, so...
They do. They have not turned on you as they have the last 3 saviors.
They're a fickle bunch, those Martians, but I get them. They're my kind of people. They're hustlers. They're out there in that red choking dust trying to make a better life. Just like me.
That they? Wonderful. I look forward to seeing your next move.
I also look forward to seeing my next move. I wonder what it will be.
All right. So that's the personal scene. I think that's a good ending point.
Okay.
Let's go ahead for I'm going to set up an opposition scene.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to cut back to... we're actually going to do an online story from News Network feed writer Evan Bow.
Okay.
In regards to a recent slate of extreme protests which have turned to rioting in which several self-identified members of the People First Front were seen sort of inciting mob violence.
Uh-oh.
The Evan Bow, his editorial is entitled "The PFF is Back," and it's just a general sort of question of regarding what things had seemed to have become placated for a long time, but they seem to have moved from direct violence to encouraging others to be violent for them.
Damn.
And if that's the direction they're moving, could armed revolt be far behind? What's the government going to do about it? And more importantly, what is Savior Kelly Perkins going to do about it?
Damn. Well, their shepherd really took the wrong lessons from my 12-step video series. All right, I gotta nip this in the bud. I thought I had those lunatics eating out of the palm of my hand.
Right. It seemed that way, but now things have changed, so...
All right. In that case, what I think Kelly Perkins would try and do is set up a meeting with the shepherd.
Okay.
And so here's the other thing. If Kelly Perkins was feeling threatened, like the situation was going to spin out of his control, he would just immediately betray the shepherd and inform the security forces. So, is that a direction you want to take this in?
I think that's perfect. I think we'll set up the meeting. We'll do a short role play about it, and then you can decide, because you're currently at 37 points in regards to terrorism, which you should be able to clear in one roll as long as you don't roll badly.
Ooh, yeah.
So, yeah, it's never an assured thing, but I think that you're close enough that you may be able to nip this in the bud, so I think it's good to sort of have both outs in that regard.
All right.
So let's run that scene real quick.
Okay, yeah, and I've just, got my hand in my pocket on my phone, ready to call in the security forces at a moment's notice.
Dial 9 and 1, and then if you need to, dial the other 1.
Exactly. Yeah, I've got the 9 and the 1 already in there, and I'm just yeah.
So you're carried in a blindfold, you're sat in a room, and before you is the shepherd, who is a brain in a jar.
No way.
Sci-fi twist.
Oh, wow, okay. Kelly Perkins does not know how to relate to a brain in a jar, but he is going to try.
Yeah. Kelly Perkins, you seem uneasy. Were you perhaps expecting something more civilian?
Well, that's one way of putting it.
I'm a bit shocked to see you react so shallowly. Your books, and you stated that it is what is inside the mind that is the true source of one's power, and these days the mind is all I have left.
Yes, I see that you've read You Must Go to Your Garden.
I have.
My first
I have gone to my garden.
Oh, I can see that. Wow. Well, yeah, so please forgive me. I failed to follow one of my own steps, which is perceptual maintenance. I was not prepared for the experience of expecting the reality that has heretofore confronted me.
Your apology accepted.
Great. Okay, great. Well, let's focus on moving forward.
Let's.
I am here because certain other members of the colony are concerned about the recent moments of unrest, and I assured them that you had nothing to do with this. But
well, you assured them wrong, as they were our actions.
I see. Remember our conversation, Shep, when you promised me you were going to stop doing things like this?
Well, I do. I remember vaguely, as it was months ago. And it seems the reforms that we had spoke of had slowed down. So we merely wanted to remind you what we were capable of and why you should be particularly invested in taking our side.
Well, Shep, I'm really sorry. I'm afraid that your approach here has backfired. Now, did you remember to begin with the ending in mind as I write in my book?
I did not know.
Yeah, so you have no idea where this is going, do you?
No, I do not.
Well,
I trust that it's going to end with you back on our side, but
I'm sorry, Shep. I'm sorry to do this. I don't think that's going to be possible unless right now you are willing to swear to me that no more violence will happen. This is going to be the end of our partnership.
I make no promises.
Well, then I suppose I'm not responsible for what happens next. And I hit the button to call in the armed forces.
And with shocking speed, armed guards storm the building. People are arrested. The jar is knocked over.
I'm like, it's the brain in the jar. That's the guy.
Yep.
I know.
Right, so
I know, right? It's
go ahead and make me a roll.
Okay.
Go ahead and make me a progress roll, and we'll see if you can end the threat of terrorism.
Oh, God. I got a 4 and I got a 1.
Oh, God. Yeah. Go ahead.
Happens?
So decide if you want to take contempt or a deception. You get no points either
always
way.
Deception. No.
Always deception. All right. So, yeah. So you're seen as the hero.
Uh-huh.
But there are a number of think pieces written by Evan Bow and Jace Williams about whether you... they've stopped calling you a coward and started calling you a flip-flopper.
Oh, no.
Which is worse.
Damn that Chase Williams and his liberal media. He's next on my list.
Yeah, so that's sort of the deception, is you're seen as there's the hero, but now there's worry that you're not, that you're willing, that now your mercenary nature is starting to come to light.
How do you put a brain in a jar on trial anyway?
Well, I guess that's what they're going to have to figure out now. So, you've got 2 progress scenes left, or if you want to set up a personal scene, you can do that as well.
Huh. Well, I don't have any personal scenes in mind.
Okay.
Open to any ideas if you've got anything. Otherwise...
no, I don't. So if you just want to set up a progress scene for one of the 3 big goals.
Okay.
You've got 25 points in corruption.
Yeah.
So you're making definite progress towards ending the corruption.
Great.
You've got 37 points in terrorism. So if you get 1 good roll in that, you've ended the threat of terrorism.
Okay.
And you have 7 lie points in the water issue.
Oh, so I've got 0 health points in the water issue.
Well, currently you have 7 health points, but if a scandal comes up, which is to say, at this point, if you roll a 1-1 or a 1-2...
I see.
Then those lie points go away.
Alright.
And also, I should point out, if you roll 1-1 or 1-2, then we are done.
Uh-oh.
Because your lie points become contempt, you take an additional point of contempt, and you are ousted in shame.
Oh, no. Okay, so we're working on corruption then. Stakes are too high.
Okay.
Okay.
So, what's your plan for corruption? Are you still targeting Mayor Yang?
Well, really what I would like to do is kill 2 birds with 1 stone by trying to drag Chase Williams and, really the whole News Network Corporation at this point I despise So
Okay.
if there's any way that I can try and pin the corruption stuff on them or implicate them in some way,
Actually, I'm going to say because you have 25 points and you're making progress in corruption, you have some evidence which links to private meetings between Mayor Yang and network chief Serena Paynon.
aha.
So you can definitely move towards, bringing that to light and exposing that perhaps there is a government media conspiracy.
That is absolutely what I'm doing. 100%.
Okay.
All right. Oh, it's that lobbying. I'm so scared of lobbying.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I hate it. Okay. All right. I got a 2 and a 3.
All right, so you got 5. So you're at 30 points in corruption
30.
now.
Okay.
Do you want to go again, or do you want to
yeah.
let it ride?
We're gonna go big or go home. Yeah, we're gonna let it ride. All right. And I got I nailed it. Okay, I got a 5 and a 6.
Perfect. You have defeated corruption.
Yes.
At least ostensibly, you have defeated corruption.
That's the important thing. Ostensibly.
Mayor Yang is ousted in shame. Deputy Mayor Yao becomes Mayor Yao. The network quietly fires Serena Paynon, and yeah.
All right.
They have installed a new president. Things are looking up for you, at least in terms of people not hating you. In the weeks that follow, Jace Williams does a number of sort of puff pieces on your day-to-day lifestyle,
Excellent.
sort of softening his touch. Yeah, things are looking up. Things are looking
All
up for
right.
you.
The Kelly Perkins brand is hot. What can I say?
So now we have the option to choose a fourth problem, but I'm going to say because we only have one progress scene left, we can just focus on one of the two problems that we've still got,
Okay.
rather than introduce a fourth thing.
All right. Well, I've only got to get 3 more points to solve terrorism.
Yes.
So I feel like I should try and do that.
Okay. Yeah, so the trial, what I'm going to say, I'm going to set up the opposition scene and say, there's a trial, the trial of the Shepherd, real name Shep Hurdley. You'd think they'd have figured it out, but they never did.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, Shep Hurdley is on trial. Turns out the way you try a brain in a jar is you just put it on, you just sort of plop it on the stand and let it talk.
Okay. All right. That seems fair.
Yeah. So he's on trial, and Kelly Perkins' actions in relation to the trial, whether it be testifying, just talking about it in interviews or whatever, may or may not seal the fate of the Shepherd.
Okay.
So it's sort of up to you to decide how Kelly Perkins responds to that.
Well, I think that, the Kelly Perkins, style is to just like jump out in front of the thing and try and control the spin. So, I could testify in court.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. So we'll run that.
All right. So I'm there, like on the witness stand.
You've just sworn in on the Martian Bible.
Oh, yeah, the Martian Bible, the new revised Martian Bible.
Yes.
I believe.
The King's Orflax edition.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to say, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, assuming that trial by jury is a thing on Mars, I write in my 5th book, The Formula 2, Formula for Teens, there is no such thing as failure, only outcomes. You always succeed in producing an outcome, and if you succeed in learning from those outcomes, failure is a word that never needs to enter your vocabulary. So I see my relationship with Shep Hurdley, the defendant, the brain in the jar, not as a failure, but as a rather interesting outcome. I have learned so much from the outcome of negotiating with hardened terrorists, trying to bring them to the bargaining table, getting so close to a permanent peaceful solution before ultimately realizing the only way to solve this problem was through overwhelming military force. So I urge you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, in your judgment of this disembodied lump of gray matter, be harsh. The electric chair, if we can build a tiny electric chair just for the brain, maybe just take it out of the jar. I don't know. Whatever is going to end this miserable creature's life as soon as possible. This has been Kelly Perkins. I thank you for your time.
So, I just want to say before we roll these dice,
Yes.
Kelly Perkins definitely says the phrase, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if trial by jury is still a thing on Mars." That is 100% an in-canon thing that is said.
Okay, good.
I just want to make sure that's clear, because that is maybe the most Kelly Perkins thing that has been said so far.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah, so go ahead and make me the dice roll, and as long as you don't get a scandal that collapses your entire career, you've defeated corruption.
Oh, baby. Okay, it's all coming down to this.
Yeah.
And I got a 1 and a 6.
Okay. Well, you have a choice to make, and I know the choice Kelly Perkins is going to make.
Always deception.
Always deception. So, you've not defeated corruption.
Uh-oh.
You got no points towards corruption.
Okay.
But you also, through your political maneuvering, you have avoided being out, like, you have avoided any sort of association with the People First Front.
Oh, thank God.
So you didn't defeat it. You didn't defeat it. There's still some lingering resentment, but at least you got out clear.
That's the important thing. Terrorism is not the Kelly Perkins brand.
So now that was our 9th progress scene.
Okay.
So with that, we move into the end game.
Okay.
Either you or I can sort of define why Kelly is no longer wanted or needed, or we can leave the question open-ended.
I'm interested to. What do you think? Why would Kelly Perkins no longer be needed?
I see it as, I don't know if I see it as no longer needed. I think I kind of see it as Kelly Perkins taking the big payout.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And sort of just after sort of narrowly avoiding being, building this house of cards and sort of narrowly avoiding it collapsing, Kelly Perkins has sort of retired into a state of, not necessarily retired, but now he does speaking tours around Mars Colony on, like, Puff Piece Matters.
That sounds very on brand for Kelly Perkins. Like,
yeah.
When the going gets tough, he, writes another book and switches careers.
Yep. Yep, that sounds about right. So now we'll each describe a final vignette.
Okay.
I, as the governor, will describe the state of the colony at the end of your run.
Okay.
Meanwhile, you will describe, from Kelly's point of view, how Kelly sees the colony as working.
Okay. All right, that sounds good.
As Kelly Perkins has sort of moved into, continuing to hawk Asteroid Water and Asteroid Water brand health supplements. It's a whole line of them now. The colony is in a state of transition. There was a major blow to the Republican Party with the ousting of both Serena Panin and Mayor Yang.
Oh, dear.
With Deputy Mayor Yao taking over, the Green Party has sort of established itself as the front runner. So they've gone from sort of the back burner to the front runner through political maneuvering.
I see.
But there's still that lingering, and in relation to that, a lot of the corporate lobbying has sort of gone away. There's been some real reform to sort of address the resentments that had led to things like the People First Front.
All right.
However, it's not settled. There's still a resistance movement within the Colony Council that is blocking a lot of reforms from going through. They're sort of dragging their feet. So there's still a little bit of resentment. There are still protests. There are still people that are very much angry. But so far, it's changing. I don't know if it's changing for the better, but it's changing.
All right.
Meanwhile, at Kelly Perkins's talks, there's occasionally a picket line outside of people that alternately either think of him as a terrorist or as a corporate stooge.
Well, any publicity is good publicity.
That's true. There's the people have, in time, some of the deceptions that Kelly Perkins has sort of laid out in relation to the terrorism and to his relationship to the corporations and the corrupt government parties have sort of started to unravel. And some of the, like, positioning that he's done has kind of gone unhinged. But for the most part, life is good. You know, the crowds are still there. People still believe in him. And that's when I'm going to toss it over to Kelly Perkins.
All right.
What I will say beforehand is, consider that you got significant progress towards corruption and terrorism. Water is still pretty messed up, and only through your bluffing is there any trust in the water supply.
Yeah, and to this day, I have not stopped drinking bottled water. I never.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you never touch asteroid water.
Oh no.
But the other thing to consider is you had 4 points of admiration, which is a little under under like a 50% approval rating.
Okay. Well, so I think this scene is going to be Kelly Perkins in his luxury suite at the Martian Hilton or wherever he's staying.
Yeah, sure.
He's standing on the balcony. He's looking out over the colonies. It sort of glitters below him. And he's got a drink in one hand, and he's reflecting on his time on Mars. And he's thinking to himself, well, I did what I came here to do, which was to apply the formula. And for me, Kelly Perkins, the formula has always been that there's a sucker born every minute. And Mars certainly turned out to be a planet full of them. And that's why I've bought my spaceship tickets back to Earth for tomorrow. I'm going to get out of here while the getting's good before I have to pay the bill for this hotel room or for anything else. And I'm thinking when I get back to Earth, speaking tours in order, probably start writing my memoirs so people get the whole story of my heroic takedown of the terrorist leader. And put a couple million miles between me and this whole Martian mess.
What an asshole. I love it. Yep. I love it.
He's a terrible person.
And that's game.
All right.
That's Mars Colony.
Awesome.
That was a blast. Lovable, hateable guy.
I thought that was awesome.
That was dope.
Yeah. Things on Mars, marginally better. No thanks to Kelly.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Again, Spire Podcast, the Twitter.
Yeah, it's Spire_podcast. Yeah, if you like con men and charlatans, I have an ongoing fascination with those kind of characters, and a lot of the people in Spire are quite a bit like Kelly Perkins.
And I really do. I am a sucker for a good con man, or a good just bluffing his way through. So, yeah. Absolutely, check out Spire. And again, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been super fun.
Thank you for having me.
I am going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take it, future me.
Thanks, past me. And thanks again to Aaron for coming onto the show. I had a great time following that irredeemable asshole of a savior. You can hear more from Aaron on the Spire Podcast, or you can follow the show on Twitter at Spire Podcast. Oh, and while you're on Twitter, you can hop over to @PartyOfOnePod to keep up with my show. Like it on Facebook at facebook.com/PartyOfOnePodcast. Or, if you're feeling super generous, hop onto iTunes and give us a nice review. 5-star reviews are super helpful in getting new people to find the show. Party of One is produced by Jen Frank and Jeff Stormer and edited by Jeff Stormer. Music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Random, aka Megaran, featuring the D&D Sluggers. Until next time, party people, thanks for listening. And remember, Daniel, Brian, forever.
Never gonna die.